Hello traders, Mark Chapman here, the creator of the trademark Trap Traders Concepts. Welcome to today's Trap Traders Trade of the Day analysis. Today's date is Tuesday, the 30th of May 2017, and hope you had a nice bank holiday weekend. And I just want to highlight an area on the euro dollar that I'm interested in. This is an area that I refer to as a multiple structure failure trap, and essentially what it is we talked about this recently in a couple of videos, where you get a cascading effect of an area where price doesn't quite follow through, and rather than it break into new highs, in this case what it does is it just falls short and sells off, and then it attempts it again and it doesn't supersede the prior swing, and it certainly doesn't supersede the one before that, and so on and so forth. So it just kind of cascades down like that. And what that obviously does is that's trapping traders every time this occurrence unfolds. So that whole area there is an area where there will have been traders who were going long in here. I'm hoping that these retracements, this correction, would follow through, right? And every time they attempted it, it fell away. And this is really the first time that prices are being back into this area. You can see it sold off, got a bit of a hammer at the high here, a bit of a shooting star. It's turned away from it ever so slightly, but it didn't quite reach it. Now this entire area is not that big. The area does continue a little higher up in here. But that's getting on for like 200-300 pips, so this is nice because of the way that it's so condensed. That's the only thing with multiple structure failure traps, is the distance between each failure needs to be fairly tight, because if it's not, what you get is you get a real wide and whippy range, which makes it difficult to trade. So for example, there's your high, and then there's the next one, and then it was a lot lower down, and then there's the next one, right? It's kind of too far apart, the distances, so it makes it tricky. That's why essentially trading a very defined level is somewhat easier, because it's easier to interpret rather than you know, a location or a zone that is a little bit more challenging. So the reason this is particularly nice, as I say, is just because this distance isn't very big. It may be a max of about 100 pips, something like that. Well within the confines of a decent trade, especially when you're considering a weekly time frame like this. Now, just going down the time compressions, we've got an area where it seems to be correcting, and I've had lots of stops under this area. Now what I think is going to happen with this pair is I actually think what you're going to get is a bit of a stop hunt here, which is what this drop is. Now what is a stop hunt? We'll just think this through. You've had a very strong move up in price, alright, so very obvious, very strong, and it pulls back, makes new highs, and every time it pulls back it creates these structures, so a prior level of resistance, and then the idea is it becomes support, right, as it goes forward like that. And if price comes back to that location several times, then all that does is it just serves to add to the fact that people are buying off that level. Now when people buy off that level, they're going to place stops in these very obvious locations in and around here. Just ask yourself the question, if you went long in this area trading off that prior level, where would you place your stop? You'd probably place it where I'm pointing to, in and around this area. It's not a perfect science, but that's probably where there's going to be some liquidity clustering. Now then, what's happened since then is we've had a drop down through that level, so in essence those stops have been taken out, so that money has now been nailed, and I think this is potentially going to be a continuation. So it's going to hoover up those, essentially, if you were a buyer in there, right, if you were buying off this level, the stop loss orders are sell orders. Now if you're going to buy into some selling, it would be kind of handy if you had some stop losses there, because those are sell orders, And if you're going to do some buy-in to continue this a little higher, that's handy because there's going to be loads of liquidity, i.e. money there, in the form of stops, which is forced selling. So prices come down through there. I wouldn't be surprised to see another push higher into that level, and that's why I'm just giving you a heads up about that level, because I think we're going to get to it. We just got to be a little bit more patient. So it's this area here again, I'll just highlight it, where you've got price attempting to go higher and then it just doesn't quite manage it, and then it falls away. So you get this cascading effect. So what we would look for is price to ultimately come into the level and then fail to follow through, right? Some type of a trap at those highs, some type of a failure for a retracement. So you know everyone believes it's going to continue and then it falls off, something like that. Obviously it can be a bit more complex than that, but we're looking for a failure to follow through to the upside, and then I think we've got a pretty tasty trade to the downside. There's plenty of juice there really until you get into any major trouble. So I think this is going to represent a decent trade, but we're just going to have to be a little bit more patient. It's not quite there yet, but I did just want to highlight the fact that that area is of interest. Of course, as price comes up to that level, you never know what it's going to do entirely. None of us do. It could just blow straight through the level and that's it. Fine. In that case you don't touch it. But what we're looking for is some type of failure at that level, and that's what we're going to be keeping an eye out on. So if you'd like to come and join me in my brand new inner circle to learn how to trade the markets the way that we do, then come and join me. I'd love to see you there. Click the link below. Take care. Have a great day.